Hey everyone, NWA Prepper here. I have a humorous adventure that has been going on today, and I thought I would share with you because it connects to something that I think is important in being ready for emergencies. It is quite a bit of what I think about most days, whether it's because of my job or because of prepping. But one of the things that I do to be ready for emergencies is I have that little guy or something larger and similar with me 95% of the time, not every moment of my life, but most of the time, to include my property. And so for those of you that don't know, the front of my property, I have a couple streets worth of neighbors. Behind my property, excuse me, all I have is another family member's house, and the wonders of the world, woods and fields, and a couple of ponds and a creek, and what everyone wishes their backyard was. Which is also at the edge, like where I am sitting now, is inside the city limits. Behind my house, my back porch, is not in the city limits. Documented, but anyway, it doesn't matter, particularly for this story. So I have been out weed eating, and we had lots of storm damage, so I've been picking up trees and dragging trees, not just from my place, but from my family's house that's next door, and from the fields and the tree lines below, and just all kinds of things. Within probably a 5-minute walk of my burn pile, I have been traveling around and spent most of the morning, an enjoyable morning, picking up sticks and hauling sticks and limbs to the burn pile. Been great. It's a little warm. It's just shy of 90 degrees, but whatever. And so me and my dog were out back, and something made me want to come to the front. So I got out, I come around, of course, go through the gate, and one of our gates, if I go out that way, I have to walk around a neighbor's house, and a couple of them actually, to get to the street. And I went and got limbs that way, and I came back, and it just seemed easier to drag them on the street instead of through yard. It ended up not being, but so I'm walking down the street, pulling a limb that is 20 feet long and that big around. I'm dragging a tree. And my neighbor, our newest neighbor, approaches me and goes, what is that? And then starts backing up. So I'm thinking snake, raccoon, something's coming out of the bushes, what is it? No, it's the fact that at the time I had a larger version of my EDC. This is my normal everyday carry. However, when I'm out in the yard, or sometimes I have a full size. I'm a big old boy. Normally it's not a problem. But so the freak out has begun. Oh my gosh, why do you need that? The whole time backing up. I have never so much as been cranky with this neighbor. I've been wonderfully happy, joyous. Some of the limbs in my burn pile came from their yard. And they've been here a year. And though I don't necessarily go out of my way to meet my neighbors, these particular neighbors have been interested in meeting the neighborhood. So we've known them. We've went out to dinner with them. We've invited them to church. We don't know, and they've come a few times. And anyway, so then I say, oh yeah, no, it's just a firearm. You know, you never know when you might need to be prepared. How's the day going? Blah 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 blah. Do you have any more limbs around back? And she goes inside. So I carry that tree and I get it put in the burn pile and I cut it up a little bit. And so I come back around because on my way on that trip there was some more stuff. So I went back out the front and around to go in the side gate to grab some stuff. So that was visit number 2. So I have had the police, our local police department, called for someone terrorizing the neighborhood, brandishing a firearm. It was great. So by this time I'm in the backyard. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am a police officer in our adjoining town. I am commissioned in this town as well. So needless to say, all the police officers are very familiar with me. Very. So, and we get an alert on our phone, but I'm busy, so I wasn't paying attention. So an officer shows up. Someone very strange to my family. Someone we don't know at all. That comes up my porch, doesn't even knock, just comes in the house like he always does. Passes my daughter, who is inside on her computer, and says, "Hey, where's Dad at?" She's like, "I think he's out back." So my friend, this officer, comes through their house, stops and get a cup out of the cabinet, fills it with water and ice, and comes out and sits on the back porch and goes, "Hey, come over here. We got to talk." So I'm like, "Well, sure." And, let me finish this. And I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I finished what I did and I walked over and I sat on the edge of my porch with my friend. He goes, "Hey, have you seen anyone in your neighborhood on your street this morning running around carrying a gun?" I'm like, "No, there hasn't been anybody unusual. I haven't seen anybody but me." I named my neighbor and my other neighbor. And he's like, "You think it could be you?" I'm like, "What could be me?" He's like, "Well," and he named the person. He's like, they're really concerned. They didn't know that it was necessary to carry a firearm in this neighborhood. So we talked for a while, and he's like, "Okay, well, he's like, let her calm down, talk to her later, wait till her spouse gets home and talk to him and ease their mind a little bit." And so I guess because he didn't take me to jail, she called again. Oh, life in a small town is so wonderful. So that all being said, I am not going to stop carrying my firearm. Badge or no badge, I am going to carry my firearm to protect myself and those that are defenseless. I will continue to do that, as I have done that since before I was actually even 21. Oh, you got to stay ready, but you got to find some humor in things too. Now, I am not just going to be a belligerent neighbor. My first thought, I'm not going to lie, my first thought was to go get my rifle and sling it and carry limbs with my rifle strapped to my chest. That was my first thought, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm also not going to change my carrying habits to appease my neighbor who is uncomfortable with it without due reason. And I'm hopeful that this evening we get time to talk and I can explain to her or talk to her and answer any questions that they may have. Perhaps make them more comfortable seeing firearms. At least, maybe starting with me. And I'm going to offer to take them to the range to see what they think. You got to stay strapped. If you are capable of carrying, you need to carry. Let's get ready.